No matter who you are, as a sales rep, you need to have a plan. In this episode, we're going to give you one that will work for you, especially as the new quarter starting up. I'm telling you, this stuff is really dope. Oh man, you should see what Hannah just shared with us. Ooh-wee. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode today, we have an amazing guest. Her name is Hannah Ajikawo. And Hannah and I got a chance to connect last year when we did a webinar together for a little company you guys probably heard about, Calendly. They're pretty dope. You can find more information about them. But the cool thing is that today, Hannah and I are going to talk about something that she's passionate about, something that I believe strongly in, and that's that strategic plan. Especially going in as a quarter, a sales rep you need to be able to take control and not be led and guided by every whim or every prospect. You need to have a process, and we're going to go through that. If this is your first time listening to our show, please go ahead and subscribe. We're going to notify you every time we drop a new piece of content. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn. We have some links down below. But as we go throughout this episode today, I want you to take at least one thing that you can apply, specifically as we get deeper into what that plan needs to look like. I want you to apply that and see if this doesn't help you to have such a much better Q2. I'm telling you, I'm excited for it. Check it out. Anna, welcome back to the welcome to the show, and welcome back to us connecting again.
Yes.
Big shout out to our folks over at Calendly. Big fan of Calendly. They're not sponsoring this episode, but Hannah and I got a chance to really connect with them last year, right?
It was last year. It was a busy time that summer. There was lots of things floating about, but that was fire. We got some good feedback on that as well. We got some good feedback.
I'm telling you. So if you want to learn more about Hannah, I talked about her at the beginning of the episode. In the teaser there, go ahead and check out some of her details below. But Hannah, take a minute and talk to us a little bit more about what you do. Introduce us to a little bit more about your practice and your philosophy and so forth.
Yeah, of course. No, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. It's long in the making. So yeah, I've been a career salesperson. So I've been in sales for about just over 15 years, and I've had the fortune of working for really big, large global companies, but also a lot of disruptive startups. So I always mention this, but I was working for my first AI company in 2011. So when everyone was figuring out like, what is that? I was there selling AI, right? So it's been, I've been doing this, but I mentioned that because it's given me the opportunity to learn a lot about what works around go-to-market infrastructure and what doesn't. And that's from a rep's perspective, but also as a leader. So over the last 7 years, I've been working as a go-to-market consultant. Firstly, hybrid. So I was literally a full-time rep and then doing consulting on the side. But 2019, I went all in. I said, you know what? My strengths really point to the bigger picture. Yeah. So today I work with Series A, usually later stage Series A organizations on setting up their go-to-market infrastructure with a focus on optimizing their sales processes. And the goal is to roll out particular frameworks that I've built to help them convert more pipeline at higher deal values. So I absolutely love that. And for those of you who follow me or who don't, you will learn today that I'm very, very obsessed with the B2B buyer journey. I talk about it more than most people. and because of that, I get pulled into a lot of panels and just to share my views and perspectives. So yeah, hoping to share some wisdom and some nuggets today as well.
Well, I encourage everyone listening to take that information, take the information here and go ahead and connect with Hannah right now. We have all the details down on LinkedIn, down in show notes to connect on LinkedIn and to the website. I want you to tell us, you got my curiosity. What was the name of that company? And what were you guys doing, that AI company back in 2011?
So that I don't even think they operate as a proper entity anymore, but they have actually have a free tool online. So they're called AI, and it's called AI Hit. So if you type in AI HIT, so what they built at the time, or they were building, was very much conceptual. So we were selling dreams, but it did work. Yeah. So we worked with the biggest B2B information providers. So the likes of like the Experian-esque type companies, right? Helping them to automate the process of updating and building out their data assets. So you can imagine if you are an organization and your whole business is built around data, being able to grab that, update it, sync it to everything, and offer that as value to your audience is you can't even put a number on it.
No.
So I always remember a special moment for us is when we got a call from Google, and it went something like, we're learning about what you're building. We could probably build that. We haven't got the time, so tell us a little bit more. And we were like, Google just called us. Like, so yeah, it was just like four of us sitting around a table. Really interesting. Of course, it didn't go to plan at the time because it was just
Yeah.
very early on, and people were like, what is this web scraping AI stuff? But man, I learned a ton. I was like AI, like machine learning. Like, we went out to the meet the devs out in Ukraine, and it was insane. Like, it was
Yeah.
crazy time.
Oh my goodness, that is so dope. Super cool stuff. Well, we're gonna put a link back in the show notes for that because it does look interesting. But either way, connect with Hannah. So speaking about this, Hannah, you come from not only as an individual contributor, but
Yep.
obviously you work a lot with organizations that are in the same boat that many of us are as sales reps, working for startups or working for SaaS companies.
Yeah.
And you're also a consultant. So the ideas you bring are very relevant. One of them that you and I were jamming about is, I think most people probably don't know this idea or forgot about it, but it's basically coming up with a plan for the quarter, a sales plan,
Mm.
like some kind of strategy. And I would love to take the next 20 minutes or so, whatever we got, 15 minutes until they tell me I need to stop recording,
Yeah.
and for us to like jam on that. Like I would love to get your insights, because going into the quarter, I can tell you that many of us, I've done this where I just want, just winging it. I'm just like, bro, did all right last quarter. Let me just jump into the
So we
new
do.
one,
Yeah.
and then let me just see what happens. Like throw bones
Yeah.
up in the air, wherever it lands, that's where I go. But you systematically do this with your clients, but also individually as an IC. Maybe talk to us about what exactly is that sales strategy plan, and then maybe we could break it down and go into how we can implement one. Does that sound fair enough?
Yeah, absolutely. So so let me give some real tangible. I'm going to try and like take it from
Sure.
like big picture into tangible nuggets. So the first thing is, you're a rep and you're heading into the quarter. If you have a deal value that is upwards of 15K, you have to know your prospect's budgeting cycle.
Hmm.
Period. Because no matter how strong your value proposition is, it doesn't matter how much they love you, it doesn't matter how many of these panels and YouTube videos or whatever you've watched, if they physically cannot get the budget because everything is clocked in, particularly above 15K and above, it's going to be so hard to try and sell to them in that quarter.
Yeah.
So you're looking at companies that have a year end that's coming up in that. Let's just say they have a year end that's coming up in March, right? Loads of
Sure.
companies, particularly in the UK, follow that cycle because of how our accounting system works. So year end March. Now they're going to be planning from 6 months ahead if they're a really large organization, sometimes 9 months ahead. But you need to get your story and your value proposition in by December latest.
Mm.
January at a push. So if you're looking at 50K, 60K, 70K deals, you need to get it in 4 months before their year end. Okay, so the next question is, but how do I know their year end if they're not a publicly traded company? Well, put pressure on your sales leader to go buy business information platform. Now, this isn't like this isn't a shout out to all the contact data providers, the Apollos, the Cognizums, etc.
Apollo.
Right? Like, do you know, right? We
Our
love
boys
you
over there.
because you help us out, but I smash my targets every year selling business information because it
Yeah.
was the easiest value proposition, right? Because these companies in the company databases, so not contact databases, they list the financials. They list the financials and they list the year end from ones that are registered, and it's usually about 70 to 80% coverage. So the first thing you're doing, front end of the sales year, is saying, boom, I'm going to structure out my territory, all of the
Hmm.
people 6 months ahead, so I know who to contact and to reach out to, because you're going to already set yourself up for success just knowing that you're going to be talking to them inside their budget window,
Yeah.
right? And then the big companies that you miss, of course, you're hoping to collaborate with marketing so they can do big picture awareness campaigns to the top 1%, top 5% of your territory, where you're like, you know what, it's going to take us about 9 months to get in anyway. So let's just start telling a story now. So
Hmm.
get tactical and strategic about your territory. You should be acting like a sales leader, as a CEO of your territory. You're
Yeah.
like, what's there? What's the land look like? What's the white space? Which customers do we have in this space? What's the use cases I can bring? At what point is the deadline before I reach out to these companies? What's our proposition? And do the hard work first. And you can almost predict your year. you can say, I've got 100 accounts I'm going to focus on now, because the rest, they made no sense. It's a waste of time. I'm going to focus on these 100 accounts. That's what I'd say. So that's like the tangible thing. Get set up correctly.
So go back to that. Like, so I got database. I'm getting set up correctly. Now, somebody might come out and say, and I sold to city county governments in K-12, and it literally was like that. Like you were in a state, they got money like either in October, or they got some stuff like earlier on, like when, before the school year or whatnot. But there's certain periods where they got their money, and it was it. If you missed the window, God bless you. You're back in line for the next one. But
Yep.
we were doing stuff throughout the year. I had smaller deals that we probably could squeeze in some of those places.
Yeah.
If I'm not hitting that 15K, those 15K deals, or it's the end of the year now, or I start in April or whatnot, what am I doing throughout that whole time? Can I get anything else to hit numbers as I go throughout the year, as opposed to just at the year end windows?
Yeah, and this is where I always think about nurturing your territory and getting to know people. So ideally, I know some things are out of our control, but you always find that reps have success in the second year, right? Like all the crappy calls and meetings they went to in the first year, they go back in the second year, and now they're like,
Were you watching me?
Yeah. They're like, man, I know everything. I know everyone. Let me go back to that call. I can kill it now, right? But that's where it comes to nurturing, because you will learn things, and you will learn things like discretionary budgets, the CEO's wallet. You're going to hear all these terms where it's like, oh, so you can squeeze money out and pull money out of areas of the business that's not budgeted for, if it's compelling.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at breaking out of that cycle, there's a couple of things. One, get to know your buyer. Are they an experienced buyer inside the organization? Because if they are, they will know about those discretionary budgets, the CEO's wallets, and all these other pockets of money that's available. They'll also know how to break through the standard terms of business. Like, oh, actually, we can access these funds we can pull funds from next year into this year. We can sign contracts early and stuff like that. So you want to be in a position to learn what are those little things. So I think really early on in any kind of buying interaction, we want to be asking questions like, hey, what kind of projects have you been involved with since you've been at the organization? Where have you seen some of these go a little bit left, or how many projects did you start with at the year? How many are actually still in flight? Right? It's like, oh yeah, we had 20 initiatives. We've got 3 now. We're doubling down on this. What are you doing differently than you did last year? You're just trying to understand the appetite for change, the throughput. Like, are they going the whole process? Are they going through the whole process to make changes, or are they just a company of lots of ideas, and then they roll over to the next year and they got lots of ideas? Because it's the people who take action that get the stuff done, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to have lots of buyers where we know they don't really care. They're just like, I'm just trying to get a paycheck. Don't come here and try and disrupt Don't disrupt that. Don't give me no ideas. I don't want to hear it. I just want to go to work. I want to come and I want to go back to my family. So
that's it.
There's all this education. So to answer your question, you need to keep nurturing your territory and get in front of as many people as possible. Forget about qualified leads. Just go talk to people, and you're going to learn where some of those nuggets of budget come from. Nuggets of budget come from that may be outside of the budget cycle. Sorry.
And I think that's a great point. Like I was on a podcast last week and we were talking about the same topic here. Like I think what you're getting to back at with this is just, one, understanding the lay of the land, and then 2, it's being comfortable to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And I think usually the more seasoned reps have that ability because they know, like, listen, I don't have time to waste, and I'm a consultant. I know this stuff, and it's not awkward to ask it. And I think some of these things you just can't find in like a book. It's through that experience. And like, so go deeper into this. If I'm making my plans now, I'm planning out my year. Like maybe we can't visually show this part, but let's say if I'm planning out my year, I have a bucket here and I have my big focus account. And then now I have some other accounts, maybe is that a second bucket of places where we can get CEO wallet or get access to other capital. Is, what can you define what those accounts may have looked like for you at that point?
So I know we've got all these incredible CRM systems, but I'm like, put it on Excel, man. It's just so easy to see. I know it's terrible, but it's so easy to see. But you create the proper views in the system. But the the thing is sometimes, yeah, you create your, your account layout view, and you're like, okay, I've got the information, but you got the account, you've got like, just something that measures your relationship with them. Are they a customer?
Yeah.
Are they a prospect? Something that shows you revenue that you have or revenue potential. So revenue potential is going to be based on other columns down the line. And that's why sometimes Excel is the best thing to use, because it's a bit of a guesstimate. But then you're going to be like, you're going to identify what do they do with us already and what's the white space. If we have 5 products, they use 2, tick 2, the white space is free. The next thing is understanding, you just want a quick profile based on research, right? So I've checked their now we've got AI, man. This is so easy. This used to take literally weeks, but now I check. So create your GPT, right? Customize it so you can ask it 3 questions and it will give you back the same information all the time, which is like, what's their revenue, what's their 2 strategic initiatives, and like what's a big change they've made in the last year. Mark that down and qualify it as like red, amber, green or something. So you're like,
Sure.
okay, green is the ones that I need to focus on. And then what you want to do is effectively have these columns which identify the best ICP in your territory, not for the company, but for what you know. So I knew that in one of the roles I had as a rep, I knew that tech companies were the ones that I'd always end up selling to, ironically, right? I'd always end up selling to tech companies, and ironically, mostly sales leaders. I'd always be like, I'm going to go straight after them, and marketing leaders. So I'm like, if I know that they have, as an example, I knew one of our strengths in our platform would be like our ability to do this particular thing. I'd look for evidence of them not being able to do that, because I'm like, if you don't use us, I know you're struggling with that one thing, because I just know you are. So there's so many web and Chrome add-ons that you can use to check people's web technology and what they use in their backend. Like, use those tools to give you indications. If you're like selling an AI tool, which you know is very visionary, still in the early adopter stage, particularly if it's generative AI, go on their website. Have they got like full story? Have they got like the most extreme version of HubSpot? Have they got particular platforms where you're like, this company only been out for like 4 years, so they're adopting very early technology? That gives you another column to say they are, early adopters of technology. Like, do that groundwork, score your accounts, and you are in such a better position to go out and do that. So I remember doing that, giving that list to my SDR and said, book meetings with these top 10 companies. Every single one of them they booked, because it was so compelling. And this is net new, by the way. I didn't have any existing accounts. This is net new, stone cold, pick up the phone, sharing the value prop. We didn't send emails. Really, it was just, I'm big on phone. Just get on the phone, cold call, and say, this is what we're doing. We understand your business to do this. We understand this is a challenge because it's changed now. How are you accessing that? Holy crap, you're right. Come and meet me. And we did that for some of the biggest companies in the world, but you can't do that if you don't do the groundwork.
Yeah.
So don't get to like, April the 1st, like, oh my God, it's a new month. Who should I call? You should be like, I'm on top of this. Yeah. I know the 10 companies that fit the profile based on my own scoring system. So that's what I'd say for the next level down.
And I think that's the hardest part for reps. Like you and I go back to this, like, and I've done it again, and I can speak to it because I've made the mistakes where I was looking for a silver bullet, or I was looking for that bluebird that landed last quarter that came in, and I hit numbers where I'm like, that bluebird may come again, and it's the wing it idea. Yeah. And I think, I personally believe, Hannah, like as a sales rep, you need to be almost like an analyst. And if you can be that analyst and come in as like that authority leader in your space, people respect you, and you will be able to get a lot more done. We way more effective. Like you're saying here, the productivity rate is going to be way higher, rather than just, I'm going to do a phone call and I'm pretty good at talking to people. Like that I think those era of sales reps are dying off.
Yeah, I've got, they are, and now you remember, right? So your sales leader, it's out of their hands, but they're making decisions, really hard decisions, which is, how do I shrink the team? And then above their head, if they're a CRO or they're a senior leader, we have to cut back marketing. We have to cut back enablement. We have like all of this cutbacks because, of course, the industry and the is rebalancing. The market's rebalancing itself, and it's going up, which is great. Everything's trending up, but still companies are very cautious. So you need to say, how do I make myself indispensable? And how do I not just be here and burn myself out making pointless calls because it's aimless, right? So what you want to do is almost have like it needs to feel like a Google map. journey. It needs to feel like, even if there's traffic, even if there's like a roadblock, you still know exactly, I'm going through this destination with my territory. And I know that when I get to the end, I'm going to hit target. Like, that is how you need to be laser focused. And it works, but it takes all the hard work in the beginning to get all that data. Go and get free trials, get free access to data, like build it yourself, right? If your business can't afford it. But those insights and all these platforms now, AI makes it so cheap, right? Go and get that data, fill it up, and you're going to be like, wow, this is actually fun. This is fun going out.
Could you tell us about an experience where you adopted this? And I know we were talking about it, but just walk us through one of those deals that you had. You mentioned Google, but any of these deals that you had where you had a situation like this, you walk us through what you did and what was the outcome.
Yeah. So what is different for me now, right? As a consultant,
you don't have to say names. I mean, just from back in your days. Yeah.
Not even back in the day. Let me give you an example of how I've helped a sales. So Series A, they weren't Series A at the time, but a Series A sales team to do this, right? So they had a mixture of new business and existing accounts. They sell again, tech company, and what they were doing is just smashing the phone. Literally, just they then again not heavy on email. They were like, it's quicker to get people on the phone. So you had their BDRs booking 30 meetings a month. Like, it's
My
crazy.
goodness.
30
Per
meetings
BDR.
a month. Yeah, BDR, SDR, 10 meetings inbound, 20 meetings outbound. So don't tell me people don't pick up the phone. They do, right? You can book these meetings. So they did that all day, every day. But what was happening is it was like, yeah, but we're bringing in lots of deals, but they're just low value in there, they're a bit weak. So it was like, how do we tailor it? So we focus on accounts that firstly we can close higher deal values. So we might book less meetings, but we need to get a bit more structure. So the account executives mapped out their territories. Okay, I've got 400 customers in my territory. Some have our core products. Some are like, they're not even good customers. But they did all the white spacing. They did the research. We had a scoring system and just relentlessly went after all of those companies. Because it's like, I know that this is in our key industry, which was like a regulated industry for them.
Sure.
They had more than one location. That was a great thing for them. They had more than one like credit referencing team, sales team. So they knew that they could sell to 5 divisions. So they had that and they scored it and then just went relentlessly after it. But what happened is they were able to, firstly, the 2 people in that team smashed target because they had that level of structure. But more importantly, they had higher level conversations. So, because you know so much about an account when you're going into there and you do get in a room with all of these senior executives. It's like, listen, understand that the organization is doing these couple of things to help you understand how you get more value from me. This is what I've ironed out. And now you're telling them like, this is how it would work in that department. This is the future state for that department. And they're like, oh, wow, you've actually built our strategy, let alone just that. So you have a different kind of conversation and you also have a different level of confidence. Just a quick example from me doing that. And this is back in the day. I appreciate some things have changed, but I turned up to the meeting. This is one of the biggest car manufacturers on the planet. Turned up to the meeting, right, in my little suit, right? And I was so excited. It was huge. I was like, oh my gosh. I get there. And then the guy's like, firstly, he hasn't booked a meeting room. So he's just treating me like crap. Hasn't booked a meeting room. He's like, oh, we'll just sit on the sofa over here. He's like, oh, I don't have an hour. I have 20 minutes. So I was like, okay.
Bro.
Right? So I pulled out my laptop and I was like, okay, this is how you usually do this. He said, correct. I said, but at the moment you're struggling to do this. He said, okay, tell me more. And then I said, the reason why is because of this is all the issues. I said, and most people are going to oversell it to you, but all data is crap. But this is how we help to close that gap, right? So you can get more visibility. By the end of that 15 minutes, he canceled his next meeting. So we did have an hour and a half together. He told me, he shared the information with his business partner. So he set me up with his organization that ran all their sales. I didn't even know it was a third party. Spoke to that third party. We closed that deal, but then we closed 4 other deals. And also with another company outside of that vertical, because that third party agency had lots of customers. Yeah. And they were like, wow, you guys have nailed this really specific value prop. But it came from research because I started to see patterns. So you end up selling to 5 companies in the same vertical with exactly the same story, word for word. And then you start saying, oh, and by the way, Ford just bought this and Vauxhall just bought this. And they're like, oh wow, okay, this is exciting. But it just takes time. It takes knowing where their budgeting cycle is. All of those things put all of the coins in your favor.
Yeah.
Why would you just enter into April and be like, let me make 60 calls today? That doesn't make any sense. I want to make 20 tailored calls and I want to go out and chill. That's what I want to do.
Let's do it. Shoot. Work
Exactly.
smarter, not harder. Listen, this is
Yeah, I'm all about that.
absolutely amazing, Hannah. This is great. If folks want to, if there's one major takeaway you want folks to leave
Yeah.
with from listening to the conversation, what's that one major takeaway? And then tell us where the best place to connect with you. I put LinkedIn, but if there's somewhere else you want us to go or download something, let us know.
So a couple of things. I've got a couple of things that I can share. Actually, I'll share with you. It's that kind of multi-threading thing. So one of the key things we know is that we have lots of decision makers, right, in a decision-making cycle. So there's a little multi-threading test with an article that I did in partnership with Lavender that will help you shape your multi-threading. So that's the one thing. The other thing is, if I can give you any advice, focus on companies and not contacts. So yes, we need to multi-thread. So it might seem like, but you just said focus on multi-threading. But structuring the accounts that you can win this year and just going relentlessly after them by doing all the research is going to put you in a much stronger position to win this year than it will just going after contacts because they look like they have good job titles, right? Company level first, contact second.
Love it. Well, y'all heard it today. Hannah, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We'll put that link that you give us down in the show notes so folks can get access to it and learn a little bit more about you. We appreciate all your wisdom that you shared with us today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Donald.
Anytime. Hey, that was Hannah, and I am so glad that we got a chance to connect with her. I love the concept of just slowing down, being able to know that time frame, understanding when your buyers are purchasing. And I know it sounds so simple, but oftentimes when we get into crunch time, when we get down into the rough quarter, and we're trying to wing it, we're just making calls and trying to just frailing. We need to be strategic about this stuff. And I don't want to just throw another buzzword in there, but you just need to make sure you have a plan, focus, and just really, really fine tune that focus. It was really amazing. Go ahead and connect with Hannah. Tell her that you heard her here on the Sales Evangelist Podcast. Check out the content she's talking about. She has some really cool stuff that she shares and just a wealth of knowledge. And if your company can benefit from her stuff that can help you when it comes towards building the right pipeline, you can find more details about them. Her organization that you can check out, you can find it on LinkedIn as well, is Revenue Funnel. You can find all the details. And I'm just telling you, she knows her stuff. Scouts honor. As always, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. If you're looking for some guidance, you need some practice, need some help, check out our sales mastermind. You can find more details down below or go to thesalesevangelist.com/mastermind or check out our LinkedIn prospecting cohort. And we're going to have a new group, new cohort starting up in Q2. And the idea behind this is to help you to be able to maximize your outreach as a seller and to be able to connect with the right people in a more effective, normal, natural way. As always, I want you to raise your level of thinking, 3 to 5x your sales pipeline, close twice as many deals, go out and do big things. I'll see you on the next one.